Yeah, so my experience using Paramble has been exceptionally positive. So, we've probably used you guys for, I want to say, a dozen or more MedChronos of different sizes. And, from my perspective, allowing me or my staff to be able to log in quickly, upload all the records that we have, and then you guys turn around in 48 hours and give us that, sort of the summary where the documents aren't attached to it, and then where you've got the documents that are searchable that are also linked, that we can just click the links and get to it, has been a game changer from our perspective. But that's been my use of it, and it's been almost 100% seamless, frankly, in what we do.
How do you see AI changing the space? Yeah.
I'll come from this question more of a owner of a law firm, or part owner of a law firm. So our concern as a firm is it's a new technology, and lawyers hate new technology, right? We don't trust new technology. And there's a lot of questions that we have regarding security, right? It's our clients are trusting us to make sure that we're looking out for their best interest, and that we're keeping their medical history or psychological history, secure, and it's not out there in the cloud, for lack of a better term, where anybody can get it. And, you guys have a secure platform. I don't know if everybody else has that. And so our concern is there's so many players out there. It's just a lot of noise. And, it goes back to something that I've enjoyed working with your company is the customer service part of it. If I have a question, or any member of the firm has a question on, is this a secure platform? How can we get the documents? How long do you keep the documents on the platform? You guys are quick to answer those questions. So we can, one, put ourselves at ease that it is secure, our client's information is secure. And, ultimately at the end of the day, we know where it is if we need to go get it. So from my perspective, I think that's what has set you apart from all the other AI folks that have reached out to us to try to get our business, is that customer service interaction and the security of your platform, and kind of the knowing the history with your company and what's gone into it, and the continued evolution that's happened with you guys, taking our input as lawyers and then tweaking things that make sense from the legal profession. I'm not sure everybody's as nimble as you guys when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, it's a lot. It's a lot for us to digest at the moment because it's all so new. So we're looking for people who are going to be around for a while, who understand what we do for a living, and aren't just, hey, by the way, we do demand packages, we do medical chronologies, we'll do legal research for you. Like, can you just specialize in one area and do that really, really well? And that's what we're looking for. So I think we found it with you guys.
Dude, that one was so good. You don't understand. When I heard that story, I went out into the office and I was like, Sarah, this was the most incredible conversation I've had with a client.
Yeah. So, the specific story on where Paramble is set in my mind that it is something that our firm should be using now and into the future is really two. Number one, I did all our MedChronos and our team, and we're talking, I may have 200 files at any given time. Okay. Now, some of them are complex, some of them aren't complex. But I did them all, and that was an enormous amount of time, namely at night at home when my wife's asleep or my kids are asleep. And I told you before we started, doing business together, that ultimately at the end of the day, you had to convince me that you could give me the same information that I was getting doing it myself. Otherwise, we couldn't work together. And so the first couple MedChronologies that I sent you all, I'd already done, because I wanted to see what your product looked like compared to my product. And it was very, very good. It was very, very similar. The thing that set it apart was, instead of 2 weeks of my time, it was 48 hours of your time. at a fraction of the price that we've been paying traditional people to do medical chronologies if we outsource it. And then the other one that really set you guys apart from my perspective on why we should use you all is I had a client who has a long history of neck problems, gets involved in a crash. No one was ever talking about surgery before the crash. Neck pain gets a lot worse, and then he goes and has 2 surgeries. So the fight in that case is the defense wants to say he would have had the surgery no matter what. Crash or no crash, he was inevitably going to have the surgery. Our position is no, it's an exacerbation of a pre-existing condition. So I talked to both his surgeons, and one of the surgeons didn't have his prior records because he was the second surgeon that came in after the first surgeon. And he's like, look, I'd like to see all the medical records before I can provide you an opinion. He charges me like $500 an hour to review those records. And I said, worked with him a long time. I said, doctor, look, I've known you for a number of years. I used you on the defense side. I've used you on the plaintiff side. I've been using an AI medical chronology company called Preamble. Can I send you their work products? Can I send you the summary that they put together with me with the hyperlinks to these records? And you can just pick and choose what you want, but everything's there. And he said, that would be fantastic. Calls me up, I think it was 2 days later, and says, this cut down 10 hours of my time to bill you because I could just point and click wherever I wanted to see exactly what I wanted. And he's like, yeah, firmly will say this is an exacerbation of a pre-existing condition. That's $1 million case. That's that case. And so my client spends, a few $100s with you as opposed to paying this orthopedic surgeon, $3,000 or $4,000 to do the same thing. So from my point of view, those are the 2 things that have absolutely been game changers in our practice. There are some paralegals that are really, really good at their job, and they do a really good job going through medical records, but the majority of them are god awful. And so when I was on the defense side, and it was the conversation you and I had, I did them because we didn't have the staff to do it. And I would walk into depositions and know the records better than the plaintiff's attorney and walk out of there and negotiate cases where Geico would save hundreds of thousands of dollars on settling cases because the attorney didn't know the records. So the debate that John and I got into when I first joined the firm was, outsource this. This takes you too much time as a lawyer. We're paying you too much money to be sitting here doing a clerical issue. And I was like, yeah, but John, this is how I know my case. I'm looking for certain things. I'm trying to put it in order. I'm trying to get a good idea of what's going on. And he has somebody outsource it to, but like I said, it's like $3,000. And it takes like a week or 2 to get it back. With you guys, it's a fraction of the cost, and I get a turnaround time in 48 hours. So that's my game changer. Plus, it's searchable. Plus, I can click a link and get to the record when I need it. Again, like we were talking earlier, if I'm going to hand that to an expert and the expert can click a link and get to the record instead of thumbing through every piece of paper we send them, and we send them everything because we don't want the defense to sit there and say, hey, what did the plaintiff's attorney send you? Did they not send you this or not send you that? So we send them everything. Whether it means something to them or not, we want to make sure they got a complete picture. But if they can click a link and get to what they want, I'm paying, fractions of, that expert's time, which is usually like $500 an hour to go through records to tell me something I already sort of know. So if I can hand them your product and they can click that link and do it 10 times quicker, then it saves my client money. So from my perspective and what I've been telling John, it's a game changer for our end because it speeds up stuff. It saves our clients money from a cost perspective. And frankly, it allows me, especially with the AI function on it, where I can search for things. And I've done that, where I've kind of tested it, and you and I have talked about that, where I'm going, where are the inconsistencies in the case? How many times did my client complain of pain at this level or that level? Because those are things that are important for us to know, when we're trying the case or we're cross-examining a defense doctor. Well, doctor, you said that they should have been healed within 6 weeks, but here are thousands of pages of medical records where, their pain is an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 weeks and months and years after. And it just makes them look silly. Well, instead of having that take me 2 or 3 weeks to do, I can get it done in 48 hours. Okay, so how many can I do in the 2 weeks instead of doing one? We're talking I could do, 20 or 30 of them. So from my perspective, it's a game changer. And, the customer service that you've given to me, from my perspective, sets Preamble apart from the other AI folks that are out there. That means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to the associates in my firm. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if I can reach out to you and I've got a problem uploading something, or I don't know how to use the AI function, or if I'm looking for something and you're responsive, I'm not seeing that from anybody else in the market.